Hi, my name is Pat, and this is my channel, Book Chat with Pat, and I'm glad that you're here. Today I'm going to be doing my weekly wrap-up for the week ending Saturday, August 16th. I finished several books this week that I had been reading, and I am continuing to work on a couple of other ongoing reading projects. First, I finished Steinbeck's final novel, The Winter of Our Discontent. This was written in 1961. This is the last book that I will be reading for the summer of Steinbeck. I've also had a delightful ongoing conversation about this novel with Alan at Big Hard Books and Classics, and also with one of our faithful subscribers and commenters, Patricia. We shared ideas in emails, and we had a final discussion on Zoom. This was a heartbreaking novel for me. It's a portrait of the protagonist, Ethan Allen Hawley's downfall, and it is a grim look at the corruption of the American dream. This was a first read for me of this novel, although both Alan and Patricia have read it several times and brought a wealth of experience and knowledge about the book to our discussion. It has not replaced The Grapes of Wrath in my eyes as my favorite of Steinbeck's novels, but it's up there. This is a really, really powerful novel, and I appreciated reading about a really complex character who makes some terrible choices in his life and then lives with the consequences. Next, Renee at Beyond Books and I finished our reading of Stephen King's almost mammoth Duma Key. We have also been sharing our ideas through emails. We are each going to be presenting our reviews of the novel next week. I was fully engaged by a good part of this novel, but I think that I now understand why, people who have read a lot of Stephen King, a lot more than I have, why people often say that Stephen King doesn't always land the ending. Without talking about the ending. That was how I felt about this one. I felt all in, totally engaged for about 2/3 of the novel, and then I felt like the narrative went off the rails. But I'm going to talk about that more in my review, and Renee will probably be talking about that also. We kind of had similar reactions to this, and we'll each be reviewing it in the coming days next week. I also appeared on Margaret Pinard's channel as part of her Agitation August series. This is a delightful series that Margaret has created, and she's talking with different readers throughout the month of August, where people are presenting or have proposed to talk about a book that shook them up in some way. And we had a terrific discussion of Mariann Edgar Budde's How We Learn to Be Brave, Decisive Moments in Life and Faith. Budde looks at figures throughout history and also her own life, and in scripture. Figures who have found themselves facing, sort of these cataclysmic moments when they have to draw on inner resources to step up to the plate. And yes, she does use a lot of baseball metaphors in this book. They have to draw on these resources to step up to the plate in order to do something courageous, something that they may not have thought themselves able to do. It's an inspiring book for these times that we're living in. We are continuing our reading of the poetry of T.S. Eliot in our Eliot in August read-along. We've spent this past week reading and discussing The Wasteland, and we're going to continue our discussion of The Wasteland for one more week. And then in the last week of August, we're going to move on to the four quartets. And also, I think in the last week, we're going to be reading Old Possum's Book of Practical Cats as well. So still one more week to talk about The Wasteland, and we're having this discussion in Discord. I have been enjoying this deep dive into the works of Eliot. Most of these are rereads for me, but it's been a very, very long time since I've really read Eliot with this kind of concentration. Eliot is not an easy read for a number of reasons, but I can really appreciate why we say that he is, one of the most important poets of the 20th century, certainly of the modernist movement. I'm finding that while I don't feel that I understand all of The Wasteland, or even much of The Wasteland, I absolutely find that parts of it resonate deeply with me, and I think they always have. I also finished this week Jess Walter's new novel, So Far Gone. This is a novel that I'm reading with my real life in-person book group, and we're going to be discussing it on Monday. So I will review it after my group has had a chance to come together to talk about it. I am continuing with my reading of Ellmann's Joyce, the biography of a masterpiece and its maker, and I'm looking forward to digging into it again deeply in the coming week, now that I've kind of been wrapping up several other big projects that I have been working on. And again, I had read Richard Ellmann's biography of Joyce this past spring when I was reading Finnegan's Wake. It was part of my immersion into Joyce, and I fell in love with that biography. So I was so excited that to find that this biography of the biographer was coming out just this past May. Finally, I received the most delightful gift in the mail this week from Joe at Bookbuds. And this is the novel, The Story She Left Behind by Patti Callahan Henry. Joe said that he recently read this book while on vacation, and he said that it made him think of me. I'm very curious about that, about why it made him think of me. But anyway, when he got home, he sent it to me. So thank you again, Joe, for your kindness and your absolute generosity. I so treasure our friendship, and really thank you for sending me this book. I can't wait to dig into it. and I want to know why this book reminded you of me. So that's it for my weekly wrap up. As always, I thank you for watching. I hope that you're doing well. I'll speak with you again soon. Take care.